The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
It's time to get in the ring with DJ
Yes, it is. It's time to get in the ring with DJ D Kooks. Just DJ D Kooks here, and I'm here with Steven Bleiler again. How you doing, Steven?
I am in the ring.
Yes, you are in the ring. And we're here to talk about three matches. We decided to watch them beforehand so we can talk about more matches.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And we're talking about three matches today.
Oh yeah, three
great matches from
incredible matches.
So the first match we're going to talk about is KENTA and Taiji Ishiimori versus Kota, Ibushi, and Naomichi Marufuji from Summer Navigation Day 12 from 7/15/2007. From Pro Wrestling Noah. That was the tag team match.
Okay.
Your thoughts on this match?
Well, I first want to applaud you on your Japanese. Your language game is strong. About as strong as this match was.
Yes.
In terms of technicality, in terms of physical wrestling and in-ring, right? We're here to get in the ring. In terms of in-ring ability, I thought it was almost flawless.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
I thought this was really good, actually. This was on a comp that I got on one of the sites that I was on. So I hadn't seen this match before, and this was actually known as the Kota Ibushi coming out party.
Okay.
So if you do a little research on this match, Kota Ibushi versus KENTA versus Naomichi Marufuji it's the other way around. Kota Ibushi and Naomichi Marufuji versus let me restart this.
Take your time.
Kota Ibushi and Naomichi Marufuji versus KENTA and Taiji Ishiimori. It was really Kota Ibushi's coming out party in a major promotion in Japan.
Right.
Here. So, who stood out to you?
That's an excellent question. So I think for me, I'm kind of looking at everybody through, like I got open eyes for every wrestler because I have not seen any of these people. I have very limited exposure to them. So for me, it was really just I was caught up in, obviously the tag aspect. I thought they worked well together, but I felt they also told a good story. Each team, obviously they're in opposition, but obviously they also have to work together. So for me, it wasn't necessarily one person, one wrestler. It was more just how all four of them were kind of telling this story at the same time.
Yeah, I thought and KENTA and Marufuji were a tag team before they were a rivalry.
Okay.
So I loved all the interactions between KENTA, who was the short brown and yellow tights, and Kota Ibushi, who was the white and blue tights.
Right.
Because I thought those were masterfully done, and I thought Ibushi and Ishiimori stuff were very crisp. stiff strikes, high spots,
Yeah.
great psychology, and fantastic tag stuff. Dynamic.
I like the words crisp and stiff. I think those are very accurate for all of the strikes, kind of everything. A lot of physicality out there, which I definitely enjoy.
Yes, and yeah, and I really enjoyed, like, I'm not really a pro wrestling Noah aficionado when it comes to like this tag team stuff, but this is one of the great tag matches of all time when it comes to like building up, because when I look at these four men,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought they would have been go, 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 go. But the first, like, 15 minutes, it wasn't go, 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 go. It was well built as well.
Yeah, and we talk about this a lot, you and I. The story, telling that story, and sometimes there, like you're saying, there needs to be a faster build up. But you're right. In this match, it wasn't pedal to the metal, but they were still telling that story. So the build up was it still had me on my toes for what's going to happen next.
Yeah, and I thought the Kenta Marufuji interactions were very good too. Marufuji was in the longer pants, and you know, I just thought this match was out of this world, incredible. I rated it 4 3/4. Really good stuff.
Oh yeah, that's a nice rating right there.
Where would you go with this match?
Well, I think as your listeners know, my rating style is very unorthodox. So I'm gonna have to go. I'm changing my metrics to the fist, and I'm gonna have to give it 6 fists. 6 fists out of a possible 8 fists. I liked a lot of what I saw, a lot of what we've already talked about. The only thing for me, maybe just, I don't know. There is just something holding me back from saying, and I feel like maybe you could put a finger on it, because you gave it 4 and what you said 4 3/4. So obviously I think there's something there for us. I can't really put my finger on it. It wasn't any glaring. It wasn't missing anything that was just glaring out at me. It's just, there was just something that held me back from making it 8 out of 8.
You don't have a connection to these guys, and
that's a good point. That's a good point, D Cougs.
I could see you parachuting into this match and saying, yeah, this is very good, but not saying this is one of the greatest matches of all time.
I love the way you put that. Like, I parachuted in. You're right. I kind of came in
raw
and
Bulldog.
Right, and I think you hit the nail on the head for me. Like, I'm not as invested, so I'm just watching with fresh eyes. And while this match, it's actually not a disservice to it. This match didn't leave me going like, oh my God, this is awesome, where I'm chanting in my house alone, getting the neighbors called on me because I'm freaking out. But it was still great. But I think that's probably because I wasn't as invested, as you said, in these wrestlers. So that's a great point, D Cougs.
But the next match, Shingo and Will, I think, even if you parachute in, I think the next match, Shingo and Will, I think your mind was blown.
Yeah, that one definitely had me. Let's just say I was a little more amped at the end of that one. For sure.
So let's get your thoughts on Shingo Takagi versus Will Ospreay. So have you watched a little bit of New Japan before this?
I have been exposed thanks to you. Shout out to D Cougs. I have also Will Ospreay is somebody that I've come across in a couple different matches, things that you have actually sent me like way back when.
Yes.
And I've seen him in different promotions, different things on the independent circuit. And one thing that I note in the, I don't want to say I have a lot of exposure, but I have more than I have for most of these guys. I feel like he brings his specific style, his specific presence, his specific, him. He brings Will Ospreay no matter where he is, no matter who he's fighting. I think that's very particular about him. You know what you're going to get. And one also thing, no matter where he's at, no matter who he's wrestling, I feel like he maximizes whoever that opponent is.
Yes.
He elevates. I feel like he's an elevator.
As his music says, elevate me to the sky.
There you go. Look at that. Subliminally, I just made that connection. There you go. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what he does every time I see him, because I have seen him in different scenarios, different countries, battling different people, different styles of match. But I feel like he always delivers, and he always makes that other person just bring their A game.
And then, what were your thoughts on Shingo here?
I mean, you know what? Again, it was like kind of like what we were talking about previous. I loved it. He didn't. I don't know. He didn't really get me.
I thought Shingo jumped off the page here.
Okay.
And I love Will.
Why is that? Tell me more.
Don't get me wrong. I love Will. But Shingo has this great charisma about him. That I love. Where he has this like tough guy charisma.
I definitely see that. Yeah.
And I connect to that a little more because I like that tough guy, kick ass.
Okay. I came here to chew bubblegum and kick some ass and I'm all out of bubblegum types.
Yeah, it's sort of like that. And like, I think these two guys' chemistry really worked well with each other. And like Shingo's obviously very skilled.
Yes.
This wasn't just the Will Ospreay show.
No, definitely not. I don't know what it is. Sometimes, in the middle of a match, you just kind of find yourself maybe drawn a little more to one of the wrestlers. And for whatever reason, it was
draw
me.
yourself to Will Ospreay.
And obviously, I feel like you were the opposite.
I get it. I love Will fucking Ospreay.
Right. And it's very interesting that we both watched and we both, singled out the other guy, but at the same time, still obviously respect and appreciate. And I was still amazed at a lot of the things that I saw from Shingo. You know what I mean?
Right.
Very, very interesting. But I mean, I think that's one of the great things about wrestling as a whole. I mean,
you match 5 fucking stars.
You have so many fans and they're watching, whether you're live, whether you're watching through a screen, and you can be standing side by side with somebody else and you're just going to gravitate towards one wrestler, and the guy next to you, the person next to you is going to gravitate towards the other guy. And I think that's a beautiful thing. It's not just, oh, that's the guy, he's the best, everyone else sucks. It's like everybody finds a different, maybe it has to do with who we are as people, I don't know, but everybody finds a connection to somebody. And I love it. I think that's one of the awesome things. And I think, as you said in this case, because both of these guys brought that, I mean, together when they were wrestling, it's just seamless, effortless. it was just a great thing to watch, and I think they just worked so well together. Not just because they're in it for themselves to make themselves look good, but they legit want to put on a great match. I think you can see that.
Yeah, it's not even about the moves at that point. It's about telling a great story. And Will Ospreay literally having to slay this dragon.
Right.
And there were several spots that even me knowing the result of this match, knowing that Ospreay wins, still gets me out of my seat.
Yeah.
That, and it's like, it's unexplainable. Well, the reversing of the pumping bomber into the power bomb.
Yeah.
The reversal of the Ospreay Oscar into the gory bomb. That was fascinating. That was like amazing.
Yeah. The originality and the creativity, that definitely stood out as a whole. And they came in natural progressions, right? It didn't seem contrived. It didn't seem like they forced it to get into that situation, to pull off those moves and those reversals and those combinations. It just flowed. Sometimes we watch, well, hopefully you don't watch a lot, but hopefully, we can think back to some WWF some WWE of the past couple of years, and it just seems so contrived. Yes, I understand it's a story that's already been determined, but when I watch it, I should not know that. In this match, as you said, even though you already knew the outcome, the fact that they told the story so well, it still gets you off your feet. And that's a testament to these two gentlemen.
Yeah. It's one of the greatest matches of all time.
Oh, that's high praise.
For one of the greatest junior matches of all time. I have no words for how these two men use their agility, their strength. Because Ospreay is such a strong and such a smart wrestler too. And
right.
And this was Ospreay in 2019 too. He was just like doing 4-star matches in his sleep.
Right. It's like that's all he knows how to do.
It's all he knows how to do. And then you have a gem like this, where it's like the magnum opus. And if it wasn't for that Star Devlin match that we watched last time, this would have been my match of the year.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, and that's some stiff competition right there. No doubt. I mean, I'll say this, Dan. Every match that you send me, it does not disappoint.
Yep.
In essence, I'm probably the luckiest fan in the world because I'm not watching crap. I am only watching gold, courtesy of you. So, thanks for that.
And now we'll transition to our third match.
Okay, baby.
Which is a gold mine. You've probably seen it before, but
yes, sir. It was a great refresher.
It's a great refresher.
Checking it out last night for sure.
But watching it again,
I'm gonna pull it up again.
It's side by side.
I mean, just peak performance.
Peak performance. But you always notice something different.
Oh, for sure. And the way that they perform in this ring, even if I wasn't going to see something different, I would still go back to it. Because I just thought the performance was just excellent. Pure excellence.
It's just Bret and Austin just fucking having a great match. Great ass match.
And it really makes me pine for those good old days. I think this has kind of been lost for a while now in the WWF, WWE universe. This is just two guys. Sure, they're taking their direction. They had their story, but then you could tell they had the autonomy to put their personal spin on this. And I mean, in terms of characters, those are Bret the Hitman Hart, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, those are iconic, legendary characters.
Yeah.
There's no getting around that.
It's just so devoid of any, like, today's product so devoid of anything of direction and of
it's so impersonal now. Do you ever feel that? I feel like I feel like the wrestlers are not truthfully engaged in whatever storyline they're in. I feel like it's just contrived BS. And even if a guy is putting his best in the ring, I feel like it is never matched with the buildup of the story that you and I always talk about. You know, we watch these matches, but you also know that there's weeks and months of buildup. And this match, like, it had that. I mean, when you start watching it, just in that, I think it's like I don't even think it's 5 minutes. I think it's like 2 minutes at the beginning, you know, where they're just recapping. And I remember watching this. I don't think I watched it live, but I watched it once it came out. But I remember watching those Raws and things like that. And I remember when this was going on. And as a viewer, you thought that these two men legit hated each other. So you knew that this match was just going to be two competitors just giving it everything they got, not just to win, but to destroy the other person. And that storytelling has not been seen in a long time in that WWE universe.
You've seen it in other places.
Oh, absolutely. I see it, like you said, I see it all the time in all the matches you send me.
You haven't seen it in WWE.
No.
And it's disappointing when you have cinematic shit. When you have what you saw at WrestleMania this year.
Yeah.
You didn't see it, but it was disappointing.
Yeah. No, I've heard. Yeah. I mean, just something as small as, you know, having Ken Shamrock as your special guest referee. I mean, I feel like just everything was on here.
Yeah, so it's just it's honest. I did not want to make this a bitch session, but this is like what I like about AEW.
Oh yeah, I can see that. I have not delved too deep into AEW, but I've seen a couple, you know, I've checked into a couple episodes on Wednesday nights, and I definitely have caught up with or stay up with reading about each show, and I can definitely understand where you're coming from, because I feel like they are telling better stories and they are creating, so by proxy, they're creating better matches because the fans of AEW are buying into those stories because they're so well done. And that's what we're talking about. That's what WWE, and remember, I used to call it WWF even after they switched. But since it got so crappy, I'm now going to call it WWE out of respect for WWF. But that's what they're not doing. They're not telling real stories. You're getting results, and fans are legit like, what? Why would you do this? And not in a good way. It's not like one side is happy and the other side's like, what's going on? All the fans are like, what? What are you doing? Jinder Mahal? What? Nonsense like that.
Yeah.
How many times can we trot out Brock Lesnar? Come on. Get over it.
Yeah.
He's big. Yeah. But look at this. Bret Hart, Steve Austin. Sure, they're big dudes, but they're not monsters. Everybody you show me in New Japan Pro Wrestling, agility, speed, they have their strength, but they can move around. I don't know. I'm sorry. That was a rant. You got me going, D-Cougs. You got me going.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it.
And those guys were considered juniors.
Right.
Versions of cruiserweights.
Right.
And those guys were moved up to heavyweight too. So those guys actually had a bigger goal to have after all this. Those guys did well in the G1. Those guys had stories to tell.
That's a great point.
Those guys move up in the rankings.
The existence of
progression.
Right. The existence of different
tiers.
So you have different belts. It naturally feeds into storytelling. Because obviously these guys want to be the best at where they're at. Versus WWE, it seems like you have 72 belts right now. And they can tell me which one's the best, but there's too much. So there's not this natural progression.
Right.
It's a good point. You made a good point there. I never thought about it like that.
Right. And so yeah, it's just progression. Isn't it amazing? Sometimes it's the simplest things that either take you and make you the best, or it's the simplest things that for some reason you can't figure out and you end up looking like crap. Right.
I mean, I'm going to start a hashtag right now. Hashtag DKookiePunks for creative WWE. Get them on there. You could turn that place around in a year.
I don't wanna.
I'm telling you, you would turn that place around in a year.
I got fired, honestly, because I probably...
Hey, we'll make that a storyline. No, but I'm serious, because they seem so disconnected, and you have your ear to the proverbial streets, or you have your ear to the ring. You are a fan. You know what fans want. You respect the craft. You respect the story. I feel like everything that they show us nowadays has a complete, utter lack of respect, has complete disregard for the fans. It's almost like we are better than you because we're WWE creative. You're going to take whatever we shove down your throat and you're going to like it.
Yeah.
But guess what? The smart ones, we know better.
Yeah.
Man, you got me fired up on a Sunday morning. I love it.
So, what was your like background around this time? Since you're a little older.
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit, right, off air. Um, Growing up as a kid, obviously wrestling very present in life. And my family did not have cable. So I wasn't catching every episode of Raw or eventually every episode of Nitro. But I was watching Saturday Morning Superstars for sure, religiously. I want to say it was on at like 10 a.m. on Saturday mornings. On back then it was on UPN channel 57. But the magazine, the wrestling magazine, was very big back then. And I remember going to school, kids would have the wrestling magazines. The internet, obviously, not a big thing. So it wasn't like you were going on and checking stuff out. But the VHS tape, that was very big, even before
Right.
DVDs. I remember if you missed a
Blockbuster.
pay-per-view, you had to wait a couple weeks, couple months, but then somebody always got the VHS. So I was always catching up months later. I loved it. I loved the characters. And I can tell you right now, Steve Austin, always a favorite. I just love the way he just didn't care about authority. But I would say in this match, it's like Bret Hart for me. I didn't really understand as much because his story never really spoke to me as a kid. So like I didn't pay as much attention. So of course I wanted Stone Cold to win. But I will tell you when I watched it, I remember thinking like, oh my God, like I hate Bret Hart as a fan, but he's like really good. And I think that's a true test when I'm going in not caring at all about him. And then after the match, I'm like, okay, I like that guy. So that the next time I'm watching a Bret Hart match, instead of being indifferent, I remember being like, oh, I'm gonna check this out. I'm gonna pay more attention. Because he had that match against Stone Cold, and I loved it.
Right. Right. Right.
How about you? I'm curious as someone that maybe came across this later. How do you view this? Through your perspective? What's your perspective on this?
I always viewed Bret Hart as someone who's a little. This is funny because he's underrated and overrated at the same time.
I can see that. Tell me more.
Because
Elaborate.
because he is an underrated wrestler because a lot of people don't see that side of him a lot of like American fans don't see it, but to all the smarts he's overrated because there were better wrestlers in Japan at the time.
Right.
I mean, there was Kobashi, there was Misawa, there was Kawada, there was Hashimoto, there was even its contemporary, Michaels,
Right.
who was better than him. So.
And it is interesting because, and I completely understand where you're coming from with that. But I'm just thinking about today, and it's weird because I was just trashing WWE, but a lot of times when they finally get that big name, that big independent name, a lot of those guys, for whatever reason, and there's many reasons, they don't seem to, they can't hold that same status in WWE. And obviously sometimes it's not solely their fault. But I will give Bret Hart credit for that. It's like Sure, there's other guys in Japan that are better than him at this time. But, he was doing, he definitely did his thing over here. You know what I mean? Like, he had his niche. He knew what he was doing. He was definitely more technical, more technologically savvy in the ring. And I think that's where that underrated comes from. He doesn't get a lot of credit for that. But you're right. I mean, he doesn't knock your doors off. He's not going to be on any Mount Rushmore unless you're talking about Canadian wrestlers. But he definitely, he was definitely a big face of WWF in those 90s especially.
I'm just seeing where he finished on the PWO Greatest Wrestler Ever. He finished 17th.
Okay. I mean, he's up there. To be honest with you, I don't know if I would not have thought he would have been at 17.
And this is a poll full of smart wrestling fans. And several people voted him at number 1.
Can you, I'm sorry, share, where did you go? You went to PWI, Best Wrestler?
Pro Wrestling Only.
Oh, PWO, okay.
Pro Wrestling Only, which is a forum.
I'm going to try to pull this up.
Greatest Wrestler Ever.
Oh, I got it.
And then there's a section called Greatest Wrestler Ever where you can view the list.
Gotcha.
Ooh,
fun fact. Terry Funk, my wife's father's new wife, so not her mom, but his new wife is cousins with Terry Funk.
Wow. Speaking of Terry Funk, finished. He was very high on this list.
I'm very, I'm scrolling through, and I'm very happy that I don't see Brock Lesnar yet.
No.
I'm very excited about that. That lends a lot of credence to this. Good. He's at 47. Okay. I like that. If they had him top 10, I was going to throw my computer out the window. I get it. He's a behemoth, and he's got just freak ability. But that man, and I get it. He's got Paul Heyman to tell his story. Sure. Okay. But that man could not be more of a stiff, and I cannot stand any story he's trying to put out there. When he gets in the ring, creativity dies. And he dominates people, and then all of a sudden he loses to people, and it just makes no sense. Sorry, that's my Brock Lesnar rant. I can't stand the guy. Thoughts?
I like Brock. He brings something different to the table. Terry Funk finished second on this list.
Oh, yeah. And rightfully so. I'm just upset that my favorite wrestler of all time is not on here.
Oh.
Balls Mahoney.
Balls Mahoney.
I'll tell you what, ECW, I was always up on that because ECW was on Channel 48 growing up here in Philly. And I would watch ECW every week.
At what time in the morning?
Back then it was actually on a couple times. So it would be on, it was like 1 or 2 in the morning so Friday night / Saturday morning. But then it would be on Saturday afternoon. The time slot changed a lot, but it would be on Saturday afternoons. It'd be a replay. But also, I don't think it was Monday to Friday, but it was like a couple nights a week. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah, I voted in this poll. You can see my name. I voted Bryan Danielson number 1.
Oh, nice.
Daniel Bryan number 1.
I'll tell you what, that was the last man to tell a worthwhile story in WWE. So I'm a big Bryan Danielson fan.
Yeah.
That
I
when
do
yes
believe
movement,
he's the greatest wrestler of all time.
that yes movement, and when he takes the, when he just goes into WrestleMania and gets that was my last moment with WWF. I mean, I know the injury facilitated the fact that story couldn't continue its arc, because I do not think that WrestleMania was the apex, but obviously with the injury and all that, it ended up being. I mean, I know he's back now in limited capacity and all that, but that thing had some juice. That yes movement had a lot of momentum. Damn, that sucked that he got hurt after that.
Yeah.
That was the last story that I was invested in with WWF. I can say that.
You can call that WWF.
Yeah, that's the marker, Dan. That was WWF, and then right after, WWE kicks in. You're right.
Even though it was called WWE when Daniel Bryan was.
Oh yeah. But that's me. I'm a rare bird. But you know what? I find this interesting, and this is another great thing. And I'm looking at this list, and you think about like when I see these names, I'm thinking about the matches that I have seen them in, and I think the great thing is wrestling is open for debate. I mean, you're gonna have 1,000 different fans tell you 1,000 different reasons why this guy is number one. Even if they agree on the same person, they might have two different reasons why he's number one. And I think the fact that wrestling fans can coexist and debate and have difference of opinion on the best wrestler and why they're the best, and I think that's an amazing thing.
You look at the top 10. Top 10. Jerry the King Lawler at 10. The King!
The King, baby. Puppies!
He was way more than that.
Yeah. He's way more than the 72 heart attacks he's had in the past 2 years, too.
9. Toshiaki Kawada. We'll be watching some of his matches, including that legendary tag match I sent you, but the Kawada Taue versus Mitsuharu Misawa and Kenta Kobashi. Yeah. Speaking of Kenta Kobashi, the Chop Lord, Kenta Kobashi. 6. 7. Rey Mysterio.
Big Rey Mysterio fan. But I like WCW Rey Mysterio better.
Number 6. Jushin Thunder Liger.
Half tiger, half lion.
Number 5 is Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
Number 4 is Mitsuharu Misawa. Number 3 is Stan the Lariat Hansen.
Stan.
Number 2 is Terry Funk, and number 1 is Ric Flair.
Ooh. Although, should he lose points because of Charlotte?
Nah.
I think she's coasting a little too much on that last name of hers. Nah, but he's obviously a legend. The Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
Which, shout out to my man Arn Anderson, number 19. Speaking of Four Horsemen.
And Barry Windham at 25, speaking of Four Horsemen as
There
well.
you go. And Steve Mongo McMichael at number 7,000. Shout out to him. Talk about a floppy fish.
Ooh.
They had to
Let's
give him
not
the
talk about
Halliburton. I don't know if you
Steve.
remember this, but in the late 90s in WCW, he always carried around the Halliburton briefcase. I feel like
Not talk about Steve Mongo.
they had to give him such a heavy briefcase because all he ever did was flop. He would have killed it in the NBA or in the early 2000s.
Have you been enjoying The Last Dance?
Have not seen a second of it.
Even though you lived through that era.
Yes. So my thinking is this. I am going to wait until it's all over. I'm a big binge guy. I like to binge. I don't like to watch and wait. So I'm going to let all 10 episodes play out. And then I'm going to hop in. Plus, you know what? Being at home so much, there's a lot of stuff on my watch list. And I don't want to watch like 7 different things at once. I want to focus on 1 or 2 so I can actually get everything out of them. And then as I knock one off my list, then I move on to the next one. You know what I mean? I don't want to be on like episode 3 or 4 or 5 of like 7 shows. I want to go from 1 to done and then move on to the next one.
Right.
But that's just me. You know, to each their own.
This was done back in 2016. Holy shit, this poll is 4 years old.
So let me ask you, if they were to redo it, let's say they redo it right now, do you think, or who do you think would be a big mover on the list? Either moving up or moving down?
Moving up or down.
Or maybe it stays the same. I don't know. Maybe it's just that good.
Moving
just curious.
up. Moving up would be maybe Okada.
Okay, and that is that based on
Okada would definitely move up.
Is
maybe
that based on what he's done? 4 years? Sorry, go ahead.
Jericho would move up too.
Okay, and is that
based off the strength of the AEW run?
Right.
And
I was going to say, and even before AEW, when he was still bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, the strength of the last 4 years, Jericho and Okada's runs.
Yeah.
Would.
Let me ask you this, and I'm looking at my favorite number and my little sister's nickname, number 14, Vader. I know he was a huge presence in Japan. Do you think that is what gets him so high, more so than his time in America?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes. I think Vader's presence in Japan definitely gets him.
Yeah. Because he was a presence, and he definitely had some big matches here in the States. But he never really, he was never really at the pinnacle of the sport. But I am aware of his time in Japan, and I mean that man, that man. And also, he's probably this high because of his guest appearance on Boy Meets World. Don't forget about that. He played Ethan Suple's character. I want to say his name was Joey. He played his father living in the trailer park.
I'll give you my top 10 because I just found it.
All right, let's hit it.
So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 was Genichiro Tenryu. 9, Chris Benoit. 8 was Eddie Guerrero. 7, Ric Flair. 6, Toshiaki Kawada. 5, Shawn Michaels. 4, Mitsuharu Misawa. 3, Kenta Kobashi. 2, Bret Hart. 1, Daniel Bryan.
Oh, so you're a big Bret guy. Okay.
Was a big Bret guy, yeah.
Gotcha.
Jericho was pretty high on my list. Jericho would probably be top 10 now.
Okay.
Thinking about.
And you I'm guessing you probably had Balls Mahoney at 11?
No, I had
Just kidding.
I had Jumbo Ceruto 11, Kenta 12, Jerry Lawler.
Where was that? Where was Sting on your list? Just curious.
Sting was nowhere to be found.
Oh man, Sting was my man back in the day.
Oh, Sting was on my list. He was 1. $92.
Okay. I mean, hey, this is, as I've been saying, this is what I love about wrestling. Everybody's got their favorites, and for different reasons. Trust me. I mean, DJ D Cougs, you know me. I'm a little outside the box, so if I'm gonna live outside,
I didn't remember. This was 4 years ago, so.
Right, no,
These are not favorite wrestlers. This is like the greatest wrestlers of all time.
I gotcha. That's what I'm saying. That's what I love about it, is that you can get a bunch of different people, get their list together, and they're all going to be different. I love debate. I love discussion.
I'm thinking Jericho would be like top 10 in mine now.
And I agree. I think his story, just as a wrestler, his story just keeps growing. It keeps going, and it keeps glowing.
Yeah.
He is a chameleon, to say the least.
Who would I bump out of the top 10? Probably Benoit.
Yeah. Tragic.
I wouldn't bump out Eddie.
How would you bump out Benoit? Would you give him a crossface crippler?
Oh.
How about Owen Hart? Where was Owen Hart on your list? I'm a big Owen guy.
Owen? Ooh.
I think he's an underrated wrestler, to be honest.
Yeah, you.
I'm not saying he's top 10, but I was just a big Owen Hart fan. I just loved that he was always kind of that he was never really the top guy. He was second fiddle. He was an underdog. He was scrappy. He was tough. He was gritty.
He wasn't on my list, but he was on a lot of people's list.
Yeah. I mean, he's easily overlooked. And obviously that's, that part of that is on him, that he's not resonating more with so many people. But you know what I think it is? I feel like if he's on your radar, he's probably pretty high, but then he's probably not on some people's radars at all.
Yeah. As you're making a smoothie.
And obviously, yeah, I mean, we watched a Bret Hart, but you had me thinking about him because you start talking about Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero. You start thinking about, the tragedy that sometimes befalls these wrestlers, and obviously Owen Hart's a big tragedy there with the blue blazer and all that.
Right.
So.
And maybe someone who would go south was maybe like Nakamura.
Okay.
Because in 2016 we thought he was a shit. But that WWE run has really gone south for him. Still had some awesome stuff in New Japan, but
yeah, I think that's kind of what I was talking about earlier a little bit. I'm thinking about guys like Nakamura, very hyped, coming from elsewhere, getting into the WWE, and then just, for whatever reason, just not reaching that apex here. Whether it be the mainstream American audience just not buying in, whether it be language. I mean, I think you can't overlook it. Whether it be creative, not knowing what to do with such a talent. I mean, it can be any number of reasons, but yeah, sometimes these guys come over and they just can't.
Oh yeah, I put Mark Henry on my list.
Sexual chocolate.
Dude, Mark Henry was great.
He was
Somebody
great.
Convinced me to do it.
Early on in the nation.
No, it was more based on the Hall of Pain run.
Okay.
Like,
Mark
he was
Henry?
having great matches. His promos were pretty good too.
Yeah. Interesting.
Why did I put Bruno Sammartino on my list?
All right, well, DJ, D Kooky Punk.
Let's do our plugs.
Let's do our plugs, because I'm at my 2-minute warning, because I got to go back and teach tomorrow. Ugh.
So let's do our plugs. Jay McHusk on Twitter.
That's right, Jameson Mahusky, the one, the only. Real quick, give me 10 seconds here. I got to say, if you're not listening, you got to listen. If you are listening, obviously you're listening. But tell your friends, because this man, not only does he have the tremendous insight to bring me in on this podcast, not only does he get me in the ring, but this man has me, a casual fan, getting deeper and deeper and closer that I might have to stop calling myself a casual fan. This man knows what he's talking about. And his plug is
DJ D Kooks on Twitter.
DJ D Kooks. Gets me in the ring, gets you in the ring, keeps you in the ring.